UK True Crime Stories. The council's final decision had been cast, the fate of their quiet Welsh village seemingly sealed forever. Or so they thought. Because sometimes, the quietest voices echo the loudest. Welcome to UK True Crime Stories, Episode 9. I'm Sophie, and today we have 3 cases that will stay with you long after the credits roll. From a chilling incident on the streets of London, to a betrayal of trust within one of our oldest institutions, and finally, that incredible opening story, a fight for the very soul of a community. Stay with us to the end, we'll come back to that opening story, and trust me, the truth is even stranger than it sounds. Our first case takes us to a quiet, residential street in North London, in the early hours of a cold, grey morning. It was just past 3 a.m. when the first emergency call came in. Not for a medical crisis, but for something far more sinister. 2 ambulances, clearly marked with the Star of David, belonging to a Jewish charity, had been targeted. Not just damaged, but deliberately and maliciously attacked. The scene was one of quiet devastation. Shattered glass, twisted metal, a clear message of intent left etched into the vehicles that were meant to represent care and compassion. The charity workers, arriving for their early shift, were met not with the usual calm of their morning routine, but with the stark, chilling reality of a hate-filled act. The Metropolitan Police were on the scene within minutes, the flashing blue lights cutting through the pre-dawn gloom, illuminating the grim tableau. What began as a local investigation quickly escalated. Detectives combed the area, looking for CCTV, for witnesses, for any thread that might lead them to the perpetrators. But the initial silence was deafening. No one had seen anything. No one had heard anything. Just the calculated destruction, left under the cover of darkness. Then, a few days later, the investigation took a deeply unsettling turn. Sir Mark Rowley, the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, announced that they were now looking into an online claim of responsibility by an Islamist group. The words hung heavy in the air, transforming a local crime into something far more complex, far more dangerous. The Met's Counter-Terrorism Command was brought in. This wasn't just vandalism. This was potentially an act with international implications, a chilling message sent from beyond Britain's borders, through the digital ether, to a specific community on British soil. The question wasn't just who did this, but why and who, if anyone, was pulling the strings from afar. The hunt was on, not just for the hands that damaged those ambulances, but for the minds that orchestrated such a brazen and terrifying act. And as of today, the 24th of March, 2026, the investigation continues.
Sophie, it's chilling to think of ambulances, symbols of help, being targeted like that. What kind of resources does the Met commit when they suspect an international link like this? I mean, an online claim could be anyone, anywhere, right?
Exactly, Dan. And that's the complexity. Sir Mark Rowley's statement wasn't made lightly. When a possible international link, especially one to a state actor like Iran, is mentioned, it signals a significant escalation. It means intelligence services, like MI5, would be working hand-in-hand with counter-terrorism police. They'd be tracing IP addresses, analyzing digital footprints, looking for patterns in online rhetoric. It becomes a global puzzle, not just a local one. The resources are immense, because the potential threat to national security, and to specific communities, is profound.
So, it's not just about finding the people who were physically at the scene, but understanding the entire network behind it. The implications for the Jewish community in London must be enormous. A direct attack on their charitable services must have sent ripples of fear.
Absolutely. It creates a climate of anxiety. These ambulances are a vital part of their community infrastructure, a symbol of their presence and their care for one another. To have them targeted is not just an attack on property, but an attack on identity, on safety, and on the very fabric of that community. It's a stark reminder that even on seemingly peaceful streets, global tensions can manifest in terrifyingly real ways.
Stories like this one don't get told unless people are listening. If you're new here, hit subscribe. We cover real UK cases every single day, and you don't want to miss what's coming. Sophie, the next case we're looking at took investigators years to even begin to understand. It's a story of systemic deception, of trust betrayed, and the quiet impact of corporate pressure on everyday lives. For decades, Royal Mail has been a cornerstone of British life. We trust them with our most important documents, our heartfelt letters, our parcels from loved ones. But for years, behind the scenes, a different kind of delivery was taking place, delivery of deceit. This is the story of how postal workers were pressured to hide mail, to lie about targets, and how the phrase, "take the mail for a ride," became a cynical mantra. Imagine working for an institution you're proud of. That's how many postal workers felt, including a man we'll call Mark. Mark had been a postman for 20 years, knew every street, every dog, every shortcut on his rural route in the southwest. He took pride in his work, in making sure Mrs. Henderson got her pension letter, that young Tom received his birthday card. But slowly, subtly, things began to change. Pressure from management intensified. Delivery targets became tighter, seemingly impossible to meet. And then came the unofficial directive. Take the mail for a ride. It sounded innocuous, almost like a joke. But it wasn't. It meant, if you couldn't deliver all your mail, you didn't leave it at the depot to be counted as undelivered. Oh no. You took it out with you, drove it around your route, and then brought it back to the depot, sometimes hiding it in your van, sometimes stashing it in a quiet corner, to be delivered the next day. Or the day after. Or whenever you could finally squeeze it in. The goal? To make it look like all mail was out for delivery, that targets were being met, that the system was working perfectly. For Mark, and many others, this was a moral conflict. He knew the impact. He remembered Eleanor, a woman who missed a crucial hospital appointment because her letter arrived 2 days late. He knew of small businesses losing customers because invoices and orders were delayed. He knew of families waiting anxiously for important news, only for it to be held hostage by a system that prioritized optics over honesty. The mail wasn't just paper, it was people's lives. The truth began to surface through whispers, through frustrated workers confiding in each other, and eventually, through brave individuals reaching out to media outlets like the BBC. They provided evidence, spoke anonymously, detailing the tactics, mail being stored in managers' offices, in lorries, even in staff lockers. It was a systematic cover-up, driven by the relentless pursuit of performance metrics and the fear of repercussions for those who didn't comply. The scale of it was staggering, affecting countless communities across the UK. It wasn't just a few rogue employees, it was a culture, a deep-seated deception that undermined the very trust Royal Mail was built upon. The full extent of the fraud is still being uncovered, but the damage to reputation, and to the lives of those impacted, is immeasurable.
Dan, it's such a profound betrayal of trust, isn't it? Royal Mail is such a fundamental service, and to think that behind the scenes, mail was being deliberately held back, not out of malice from the individual postman, but from systemic pressure, it's just heartbreaking.
It really is, Sophie. And what's so insidious about it is the way it impacts the most vulnerable. An elderly person waiting for a benefits letter, someone expecting crucial medical information. These aren't just minor inconveniences, they can be life-altering delays. The postmen themselves were caught between a rock and a hard place, either meet impossible targets by deceiving the system, or face disciplinary action themselves. It highlights the often hidden human cost of corporate pressure.
I never get used to these. If you've been sharing these episodes with friends, thank you. It genuinely helps more people discover the channel. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And now, we return to our opening story. A tale of a small Welsh village, a bureaucratic decision that threatened to erase its very identity, and the extraordinary fight that followed.
Imagine a village nestled in a Welsh valley, stone cottages clinging to the hillsides, the air thick with the scent of wild gorse and the sound of the river winding its way to the sea. This was the village of Cwm, not its real name, but a place that represents so many struggling communities in parts of Wales where the issue of second homes has become a fierce battleground. For generations, families had lived here, spoke Welsh, worked the land or in local industries, and contributed to a vibrant, living community.
But over the last decade, Cwm, like its real-life counterparts, began to change. Holidaymakers, drawn by the undeniable beauty of the area, started buying up properties. One by one, family homes became holiday lets, then second homes, standing empty for much of the year. House prices soared, pushing local families, especially the younger generation, out of the market. The village school saw its numbers dwindle, the local shops struggled, and the very language and culture of the community began to fray at the edges.
The local council, facing increasing pressure, decided to act. They proposed a crackdown, new planning rules, higher taxes on second homes, designed to stem the tide and protect the native population. For the residents of Cwmwaiglo, it was a moment of hope, a lifeline thrown to a drowning community. They rallied, they campaigned, they poured their hearts into supporting these measures, believing that their voices had finally been heard.
The official letter arrived on a Tuesday, crisp and unyielding, sealing the fate of their quiet Welsh village. The council's final decision had been cast. After months of debate, petitions, and impassioned pleas, the proposed crackdown was watered down, almost to the point of irrelevance. The villagers' hopes were dashed. It felt like a betrayal. The gavel had fallen, the crowd had gasped, and a decade of struggle seemed to vanish in a single, devastating moment. For many, it felt like the end. The village, as they knew it, was condemned.
But they hadn't reckoned with the power of a determined community. This was their David and Goliath moment. Instead of giving up, the villagers, led by local activists like a woman we'll call Lily, decided to fight back, not with protests, but with a meticulous, painstaking legal challenge. They scrutinized every line of the council's decision, every piece of evidence presented. They found procedural errors, inconsistencies, and a lack of proper consultation.
It was a long, arduous process. They raised money, consulted lawyers, and spent countless nights poring over documents, fueled by tea and an unshakable belief in their cause. And then, quietly, almost unbelievably, their efforts began to pay off. The legal challenge gained traction. The council, faced with overwhelming evidence of their own procedural failings, was forced to reconsider.
And then, the whisper spread through the valley. The council's decision, once thought final and unassailable, had been overturned. Not by a grand gesture, but by the sheer, unwavering determination of a small group of ordinary people. The crackdown, in its original, stronger form, was back on the table. It was a monumental victory, a testament to the fact that even against seemingly insurmountable odds, the quietest voices, when united and persistent, can indeed echo the loudest. Cwmwaiglo had fought for its future, and won. That's UK True Crime Stories for today, Episode 9. These stories are inspired by real documented cases. If today's episode moved you, share it with someone who'd appreciate it. It really does make a difference. If you have information about any unsolved case, please contact Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111, anonymously, anytime. Subscribe for more true crime every day, and if you're interested in real UK money stories, debt, savings, financial freedom, check out our sister channel UK Stories.